So we are discussing about control statements in Java. In the last class, we have seen conditional statements, if condition, if else condition, nested if else, and then switch case statement. So they are all comes under conditional statements. So based on the condition, we can execute set of group of statements. Now today we are going to discuss another type of control statements. We call them as looping statements, looping or iterative statement. Looping or iterative statements. So first we need to understand what is a loop and what is iteration. So looping is nothing but a set of statements or group of statements which we are going to execute multiple times or repetitively we are executing. And that is basically called as a loop. Suppose you have written program for 10 lines or 50 lines and I want to execute certain number of lines or multiple times I want to repeat. So without writing the same statement again and again duplicated. So same statements I will write only once, but I want to repeat multiple times. So in those cases, we can try to use looping statements. Okay, there are three different loops are available in Java. While loop is one type of loop and a do while and then for loop. So these are the three different types of loops are available in Java. And there is one more for loop is also there, which is also called enhanced for loop. Enhanced for loop. This is normal for loop, and this is do while loop, and this is while loop. So there are totally 4 types of loops, but this enhanced for loop is also called as for each loop. And this is especially designed for collections. Whenever you're working with arrays concept or array list or hash map, so those type of concepts whenever you're using, so we have to prefer this loop, enhanced for loop or for each loop. Okay, so we will discuss this later. So when you're discussing about arrays concept, I will introduce you how we can work with enhanced for loop. Now today we are going to discuss about 3 different loops: while loop, do while loop, and then for loop. Okay, so first of all, what is the use of loop? Why we need to use this looping statement? Let me just give you a simple example. Suppose through program, I want to print 1 to 10 numbers. Let's say I want to print 10 to 10 numbers through Java program. So normally how we will write? You have to write 10 print statements, right? System.out.println 1. Then again system.out.println 2. Then again system.out.println 3. So like this, you need to write up to 10 statements, system.out.println, then 10. So like this, you need to write 10 statements. So if you just want to print 1 to 10 numbers, you have to write 10 statements in your Java program. So instead of writing these many statements, what we can do is we just write only one statement and that I will repeat 10 times. Okay, I will write only one statement, then I will repeat 10 times. Instead of writing 10 statements, I will write the statement only once. And then I will repeat the same statement 10 times. Each time I'll increase this value by 1. Okay, so each time I will increase this value by 1. So then I will get 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 10. So that is a usage of using looping statement. Instead of writing multiple statements, you can simply write one single statement and that you can repeat multiple times. N number of times you can repeat. So because of that, what is an advantage is it will reduce the code. We can reduce the code and we can avoid duplication. We can avoid the duplication and it will automatically reduce the code. So that is the main usage of using looping statement. But whenever you're writing, whenever using any looping statement, it can be while loop or do while or for loop, any looping statement, 3 things are important things. So we have to know 3 things. We need to mainly concentrate on 3 things. So the first important thing is where exactly we are starting point. Okay, the starting point is very important. Where exactly we are starting point and how many times we have to repeat. How many times we need to repeat starting point. And how many times we have to repeat means what? The condition is important. Condition says how many times we have to repeat. How many times we have to repeat. And the first thing is what? Initialization. Initialization means starting point. Where exactly we want to start. Where to start. Where to start is initialization. Second thing is condition. Condition says how many times we have to repeat. How many times you have to repeat the statement? And third thing, incrementation or decrementation. This says in every iteration or every round of execution, how much value we have to increase or how much value we want to decrease. So if I look at here 10 statement, in every statement we are increasing by 1. Or sometimes we may decrease the values also. So in every iteration, we have to know how much value we have to increment and how much value we have to decrement. So these are the 3 important things which we have to remember while writing the looping statement: initialization, condition, incrementation or decrementation, which is very, very important. Any loop, it can be for loop or while loop or do while loop. We need to know 3 things. Initialization means where we have to start. Condition means how many times we have to repeat. Incrementation or decrementation means how much value we have to increment in every iteration or how much value we have to decrement in every iteration. So we have to know these 3 things before using any type of loop. Okay. So simple example, let's say I want to print 1 to 10 numbers. Now what is initialization, condition and incrementation? So for example, let's say I want to print 1 to 10 numbers. That's my requirement. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 10 numbers I want to print. Now, what is the initialization here? Starting point. 1 is a starting point. This is a initialization. And how many times we have to repeat? Condition. So whenever this I value, let's say the starting point, I can just represent it with some variable called I. So as soon as the I value reaches 11, let's say I less than or equal to 10, then we have to stop repeating the loop. I should not become 11. As soon as I value becomes 11, we have to stop. This is called condition. So condition says how many times we have to repeat. In every time, how much value we are incrementing? Plus 1 we are incrementing. So initially I value 1, next value I value 2, I value 3, I value 4, 5, 6, 7, up to 10 it will repeat. As soon as I value become 10, it will print the value, then it will exit from the loop. So initialization, condition, and incrementation. How much value we want to increment in every time. So these are the 3 important things we have to know before using any looping statement. Okay. Now, first let us start with the while loop. And once you understood all 3 different type of loops, and finally we will compare. So what are the differences between those 3 loops, and when we have to use while loop, when we have to use do while, and when we have to use for loop. Okay, that we will discuss later. So first, initially, we will try to understand about the loops, syntaxes, and how to use with the different examples. The first part, while loop. So how to use this while loop? What is the syntax? So in the while loop, we need to first write while keyword. In the bracket, we have to specify the condition. And inside the block, what are the statements we want to repeat? So those statements we have to keep inside the while loop. And then after writing all the statements, we have to write one incrementation or decrementation statement. And before starting the while loop, we need to write initialization part, where we have to start that we need to specify before the while loop. And inside the while loop, we need to specify condition, that is decides how many times we have to repeat the statements. And inside the block, we can specify the statements, like what are all statements we want to repeat multiple times. We can specify them inside the block. After completion of the statements, we need to specify incrementation or decrementation. So this is the actual syntax of while loop. Now, by using this, I will show you some examples, then you can understand better. While loop. Let's go back to the Eclipse and create new package for today. New package, day 5. Click on finish. Okay, now I'm creating a new class, and my class name is while loop demo. Take this main method also. Let's say finish. Okay, so first we will see some basic examples so that we can clearly understand the looping statement. The first example, example 1. So in example 1, I want to just print 1 to 10 numbers. 1 to 10 numbers. Okay, so now here, what is the starting point? 1 to 10 numbers. What is the starting point? 1. So we will take one variable called int I equal to 1, some iteration. I is representing some iteration. You can take any variable. Okay, I'm just saying I. Int I equal to 1. That is saying initialization point. What is this? This is initialization. Now we'll directly start while loop. While in the bracket, this is a syntax. So while loop starting point, the while loop ending point. Okay. Now inside the while loop, here we need to put some condition. So when we have to stop, as soon as I value becomes 11, we have to stop. So I less than or equal to 10, I'll put condition. I less than or equal to 10 means what? Whenever I value becomes 10, 10 less than or equal to 10 condition is true, right? So even 10 also will print. But I value, whenever I value becomes 11, this condition become false. So whenever this condition become false, then the while loop will stop repeating. Now inside this, I will just print the value of I. And as soon as I printed a value of I immediately, I will increase the value of I by 1. I plus plus means I value will be increased by 1. So here in this, we put condition. This is called condition. And this is incrementation or decrementation. So all three things we mentioned. So this is initialization, says where we have to stop. Condition means how many times you have to repeat. Incrementation, how much value we have to increase in every iteration. So if I look at this, run as Java application, you can see here, it will just print 1 to 10 numbers. Exactly 1 to 10 numbers it is got printed. So now let us try to understand how exactly this loop is working. First thing, the starting point is what? I. 1 is starting point. So what is the current value of I here? 1. 1 less than or equal to 10. Condition is true. As soon as this condition is true, then it will enter into the block. So here it is printed 1. I value, current value of I is what? 1. So 1 is got printed. And after printing I value 1, then what I'm doing here? Incrementing I plus plus. Now I becomes 2 now. I becomes 2. Now again, it will go up. And now current value of I is what? 2. Right? 2. 2 less than or equal to 10. Again, condition is true. Now again, it will come inside. Now the current value of I is what? 2. So 2 is got printed. Then after that incremented. Now I value becomes 3. Now again it will go up. Now current value of I is what? 3. 3 less than or equal to 10. Condition is true again. Now again come inside. Now I value is 3. And then incrementation 4. Again 4 less than or equal to 10. Condition is true. Now come inside. Again 4 is got printed. So like this it will go on till 9, for example, or till 10. Then I plus plus becomes 11. I value becomes 11. Again it will go up. 11 less than or equal to 10. Condition become false. As soon as this condition become false, then it will stop repeating the loop. So by the time we will get all the numbers 1 to 10. Okay, so this is how it will repeat. And how many times this loop will repeat? Who will decide that? The condition will decide that. So if the condition is true, these statements will be executed. Whenever this condition is false, then immediately the loop will be exited. So we have to make this condition false at certain point of time. We have to make this condition false at certain point of time. If I don't make it is false, then what will happen? This will go to infinite loop. It will keep on repeating multiple times. But how can we make this condition false? Based by using incrementation or decrementation. So if I don't use incrementation, then what happens? Every time I value remains the same. It will not increment. So it will keep on printing 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. The condition will never become false. So that loop will become infinite loop. It will keep printing all the numbers. Now observe here, I just commenting this I plus plus. So I value will not be incremented. So every time the condition will be satisfied. Every time I value is same, that is 1. So condition is always satisfying. This loop keeps repeating. It never exits. We need to forcefully exit the loop. Now observe here, when I'm running as a Java application, it will go to infinite loop. See, the output, it is keep printing 1 like this. We have to click on this red button, forcefully stop your program. So this is infinite loop. It keep on printing the same value every time because this condition never become false. Okay, this condition never become false. Yeah, this is same actually. We already discussed, right? I plus 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 I or I equal to I plus 1. You can write whichever notation you want. I'm just using some Java notation. Instead of I plus plus, you can write I equal to I plus 1. That is also correct. Or you can write plus plus I. That is also correct. Multiple ways. Okay. We already discussed this incrementation. Okay. So system.out.println I. And if I comment this I plus plus, what is happening? Every time the same number is got printing and condition never become false. That's the reason it will go to infinite for loop, infinite while loop. So we have to make this condition false at certain point of time. So to do that, we have to use some incrementation. So now what happens? As soon as I value becomes 11, this condition becomes false, then it will exit from the while. So when I execute this, run as Java application, it will print 1 to 10 numbers like this. So this is how exactly while loop works. Initialization is important, condition is important, and incrementation is also incremental. So we can increment by one or many. Okay, that depends upon your requirement. Okay, so here I just incremented by 1. Why I have incremented by 1? By my requirement is what? 1 to 10 numbers I want to print. In every iteration, how much value we need to increment here? Only 1. That's the reason I say by I plus plus. If you want increment by 2 or if you want increment by 5, you can change that number. No issues. The incrementation you can change. I will show you in the next example. Just hold on. Have some patience. Okay, this is simple basic example. 1 to 10 numbers we have printed. For that, what we have done? Initialization point, condition, and then incrementation or decrementation. So 3 things we have used. Now let me show you one more example. Let's comment this. I'll show you multiple examples. Don't worry, you will understand. Okay, example 2. So this time I want to print hello message. Okay, hello message 10 times. I want to print hello message 10 times. Very simple example. I want to print hello message 10 times. Now tell me, what is the starting point? Hello message I want to print 10 times. Hello message I want to print 10 times. So what is the starting point, condition, and incrementation? So like this, hello. Hello message 10 times I want to print. First time, second time, third time, and then 10th time. So 10 times I want to print. See here. We'll take the starting point is 1. Starting point is what? 1. So because we need to print 1 to 10 times, we have to print hello message. So int I equal to 1. So how many times we have to print hello? How many times we have to print? 10 times. So what is the condition now? I less than or equal to 10. It is also same. Now what is the value we want to print? Hello message we want to print. So here, just to say hello. Okay, so this is a string hello message we want to print. And after printing hello message, we have to increment the I value. So now observe, when I run this code, this will print hello message 10 times. Exactly 10 times. Okay, so what is the difference in the previous example and this example? In the previous example, I've printed the I value directly. So it is printed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But in the example, I'm not printing I value. I'm just printing the message hello multiple times, every time. So first time I value 1. So it is printed hello and incremented I value by 2. Now 2 less than 10. Again, condition is true. Now again, it comes into the block. Hello message is executed one more time. I plus plus, I value becomes 3. 3 less than or equal to 10. Again, condition is true. Then again, hello message is executed. So how many times it will repeat like this? 10 times it will repeat. 10 times it will repeat. Okay. So this is how we can simply use while loop. So guys, you understood first and second examples. I will show you some more examples. So very basic example, how we can use looping statement. And what is an advantage? So if you want to print hello message 10 times, you have to write 10 print statements. So instead of writing 10 print statements, I put only one statement inside the while loop and then repeating 10 times. Okay, repeating 10 times. What does that mean? Can we do using string means what? This should be number, okay? Starting point should be number. Repetition says numbers we need to use. Printing hello. Here we are printing hello, right? This is a string. Okay, this is a string actually. We are printing 10 times. And here we are printing the I value 10 times. That means what? We are printing number 10 times. Here we are printing string 10 times. Understood? Or any questions on this, guys? Very basic, very simple. So just initialization, the condition, and then message. And here also same initialization, condition. Instead of message, I just directly printing I value. That is the only difference. Okay, both are same actually. So here we are printing the number I value, and here we just printing the message. That's the only difference. Okay, now let me show you one more example. So this time, example 3, I want to print even numbers, only even numbers between 1 to 10. I want to print only even numbers between 1 to 10. So what are the even numbers between 1 to 10? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So these are the even numbers, right? So I want to print only even numbers between 1 to 10. Even numbers between 1. So there are multiple approaches are there. So first let us start with the first approach. Only even numbers I want to print. That's my requirement. Just understand this. 1 to 10, I want to print only even numbers. First even number is what? 2 is a first even number. Then 4, 6, 8, 10. So these are the even numbers between 1 to 10, right? So what is the starting point here? Starting point. 2 is a starting point. Let's set I value 2. And what is an ending point? What is the condition here? I less than or equal to 10. This is a condition because we have to stop 10. And how much value we have to increment here every time? How much value we have to increment? 2 we have to increment. So 2 plus 2, 4. 4 plus 2, 6. So plus 2. And here 4 plus 2, 6. 6 plus 2, 8. 8 plus 2, 10. So every time we have to increment 2. So how to write the expression here? I equal to I plus 2. This is the expression we have to write. Previously, we have incremented only by 1. So I plus plus we used. But this time we have to increment by 2. So we can use I equal to I plus 2. Or what is another notation which we have? Shorthand operator. I plus equal to 2. This is also correct. Okay. Now let us try to write the looping statement. So starting point. Int I equal to 2. Starting even number. Then in the while loop, we put the condition I less than or equal to 10. Now what we need to print here? We need to directly print I value. Now after printing I value, we need to increment I value by 2. So simply I can say I plus equal to 2. So like this, we can increase I value more than 1 also. Okay, now every time I value will be, this is exactly equal to what? I equal to I plus 1. I equal to I plus 1. This is the same. This is the same expression. Sorry, I equal to I plus 2. So the same expression we have to write inside the shortcut way. So I plus equal to 2. Anything is fine. Okay. So initialization, condition, then printed the value. After that, we have incremented by 2. Now execute and see. So which will print only even numbers between 1 to 10. So exactly we got even numbers. Okay. So this is how we can simply write a looping statement. So to print even numbers between 1 to 10. So there is another approach is there. Let me show you. This is approach 1. Let's comment this code. Okay. Now I want to print even numbers between 1 to 10, but I can use a different thing. So different approach. I can say approach 2. So here I will take initialization condition incrementation only by 1 only. Okay, so observe here. Very simple. I can say initialization int I equal to 1. I'm taking starting point 1 to 10 even numbers we want to print. Let's take from 1 itself. And then in the while loop, condition is also same. I less than or equal to 10. I less than or equal to 10. And inside the while loop, I will just print the I value. Then I'll try to increment the I value plus plus. So what is an output you will get from this? It will just print 1 to 10 numbers. It will print all 1 to 10 numbers, right? But now I want to print only even numbers. I want to print only even numbers between this range. So now what we need to do is before printing this I value, we have to check whether it is even or odd. If it is an even number, then print. If it is not even number, then don't print. Okay, if it is an even number, just print it. If it is not even number, don't print it. So condition is applied. If you want to apply the condition, which statement we have to use? So based on the condition, we have to execute this statement. So which condition we have to use? If condition we have to use. Now, before printing I value, I will check a number is even or not. How to check a number is even or not? Any number divided by 2, which is giving 0 as an output, that is an even number. So that you can put inside the if condition like this. Okay, now what exactly we are doing here? Before printing this I value, we are checking whether it is even or odd number. If this condition is satisfied, that is an even number. So we are printing it. If this condition is not satisfied, that is not even number. So this will not print and incrementation will happen. So else is not required here. Else part is not required. So why else is not required here? Why else is not required here? Because we are not finding the odd numbers. We are just printing only even number. So just observe here. When I run this as a Java application, see here, we got even numbers. Okay, so we should not put this in the while loop. We should not put this in the while loop. I percentile 2 equal to 0. How can we put in the while loop? Because first we need to repeat, right? 1 to 10 numbers we have to repeat. For that, we need to put condition in the while. See, if a condition and while condition is not the same, guys. Don't compare. Okay. So while condition decides how many times we have to repeat the loop. While condition decides how many times we have to repeat the loop. Okay. And this condition decides filter, which is acting as a filter. So we are just printing the I values here, but before printing the I value, we are filtering it. Based on certain condition, we are filtering the data. So if this condition is satisfied, then only print I value. If not satisfied, then don't print and go to the next value. Okay, so this is how this will execute. So when I execute this, this will print only even numbers between 1 to 10. It will not print odd numbers. This is another approach. So to print even numbers between 1 to 10, approach 1 and approach 2. Okay, now let me show you one more example. Okay, so my requirement is like this. Example 3 is over. Now example 4. Example 4. So I want to print 1 to 10 numbers. Okay, for every number I should specify even or odd. So for example, like this: 1 odd number, 2 even number, 3 again odd number, 4 even number. Okay, like this I want to specify 10 again even number. So like this I want to print 1 to 10 numbers, and I want to print each number even or odd separately. 1 is odd number, 2 is even number, 3 is odd number, like this. So the same order, the same structure, I want to print my output. Okay, so then what we can do? So first step, let us try to print 1 to 10 numbers directly. Okay, so what I can do is int I equal to 1, starting point is 1, while I less than or equal to 10. 10 times we have to repeat. And then I'll print I value every time. So when I execute this, what will happen? I plus plus. So this will print all 1 to 10 numbers, right? When I run as a Java application, so this will print 1 to 10 numbers. Now what we need to do, every number I want to print even or odd. Along with this number, I value, I want to print whether it is even number or odd number. Okay, this is the output I want to get. So now what we need to do is, before printing this I value, check even or not. If I percentile 2 equal to 0, that means what? It is an even number, right? Print. So system.println I is concatenate with some string, let's say even, like this. So print the number first and say whether it is even or not. So if this condition is satisfied, what does it mean? It is an even number. So print a number along with the even. Suppose if this condition is not satisfied, else. If the condition is not satisfied, what does it mean? It is an odd number. It is an odd number, right? So again, if the condition is not satisfied, then again print I value, but specify which is odd number, like this. Okay. So I value 1, for example. Condition is true, print the value along with even. The condition is false, print I value along with the order, then increment that value. Then again, it will go up. Again, check the condition is true, print even. If the condition is false, then print odd. Then again, incrementation will happen. Okay, so now when I execute this, observe the output. Yes, we got the same thing, right? 1 odd, 2 even, 3 odd number, 4 1 is even number, 5th one is odd number. Right? Exactly the same output we got. So what does it mean is, inside the looping statement also, we can use conditional statements. So to filter the data, if a condition will not repeat anything, okay, it is just a condition. Based on that, we can execute the statement. So in the while condition decides how many times we have to repeat the statements. If condition decides a filter on what basis we want to execute the statement, that is decided by the if condition. Okay, so now like this, we can print the output. So these are the examples of while loop. And sometimes we have to decrease the values. Instead of incrementation, we should also decrease the data. So for example, let's say example 5. Example 5. So now I want to print the numbers between 10 to 1 in descending order. Descending order, 10, 9, 8, 7, up to 1. Descending order. Okay, now tell me what is the starting point, ending point, and condition. 10 to 1, 10 to 1, 10, 9, 8, 7, up to 1. Now tell me what is the starting point here. 10 is the starting point. Let's I equal to 10 I'm taking. 10 is a starting point. And how much value we have to, here we need to increment or decrement. We have to decrement. So every time I value, we decrement by 1. So I say I minus minus. And what could be the condition? Whenever I value becomes 1, we need to stop. So what is the condition here is, 2 conditions we can put. Either I greater than 0, this is a 1 condition, or we can say I less greater than or equal to 1. This is also correct. Both conditions are correct. When I say I greater than 0, whenever I value becomes 0, the condition false. Then it will stop repeating. I greater than or equal to 1. So greater than or equal to 1 means 1 is also true. It will print. After that, I value becomes 0. 0 equal to 0, condition become false. So either you can use condition this one, or you can use condition this one. I greater than 0 or I greater than or equal to 1. Anything is fine. As soon as the condition is satisfied, as soon as condition not satisfied, then it will exit from the looping statement. Okay. Now, accordingly, let us try to write a looping statement. Print 1 to 10 to 1 in descending order. Now, int I equal to 10, starting point. While the condition. So what is the condition? I say I greater than 0 I'm taking. And here just print I value and immediately try to decrease the value. I minus minus. I minus minus. Okay, now execute. Okay, now you can see 10 to 1 in descending order. So descending order, we got all the values. Okay, so this is how we can simply use while loop. So by using this while loop, we can practice so many examples, so many programs, so many practices we can do in different scenarios. And basically, what is the purpose of the loop? We can repeat the statements multiple times based upon certain condition. And three things are important. Initialization, where we have to start. Condition defines how many times we have to repeat. And then incrementation or decrementation we required. So why the incrementation is required? Because if I don't decrement or if I don't increment, this condition never become false. If this condition never become false means what? This will go to infinite loop. It will keep on executing. So we have to make this condition false at certain point of time. So for that, we have to increase or decrease the value, and then this condition become false. And as soon as this condition become false, then it will exit from the while loop. Okay, and one more thing, we can also use conditional statements inside the looping statements. We can also use conditional statements inside the looping statements. I have still not discussed about for loop, right? Why you're asking that question? So I've still not introduced for loop. I'm still discussing about while. Okay, so let me complete it, then ask the questions. So don't go beyond the concept, guys. It will unnecessarily divert the concept. Okay, so many people don't know about the for loop. Just wait for some time and then I'll clarify that question. Okay, fine, no problem. So guys, you understood about while loop so far? Everyone please confirm in the chat window. While loop. I'm asking about only while loop. Okay, great. So I will give you some more examples for practice. So then you will understand many pair. You can do a lot of practices. Okay, I will give a list of programs using while loop. Just practice those programs. Okay, they are more than enough. Then you will be more familiar with the while loop. Okay, now let us move on to the another type of loop called do while loop. The next loop. So do while loop. And all three loops are required three things. Initialization point, condition, and incrementation. These three things are required for every loop. Okay. So now let's talk about do while loop. Do while loop. Next one, do while loop. So what is the syntax of this? Do. In the bracket, we specify the statements and incrementation or decrementation. And after closing the bracket, we have to write a while. Here we have to put one condition. And then semicolon is required, guys. Major differences are there between while loop and do while loop. I'll explain what are the differences. So syntactical differences are what? In the while loop, first we need to start with the while with the condition. So first we will start with the while with the condition. In the do while loop, first we will start with the do keyword, end with the while. Okay, and in the while loop, we don't put semicolon here. We should not put semicolon here. Okay, because that representing end of the statement. So rest of the part will not be executed. So should not be put semicolon. But in the do while loop, we have to put semicolon for the while, because after this while condition, there are no more statements are there. So we have to put the semicolon for the while condition. This is syntactical difference, and it will start with the do. But another major difference in these two loops are, in the while loop, first it will check the condition. If it is true, if it is satisfied, then only the statements will be executed. But in the do while loop, without checking any condition, at least once these statements are executed. At least once. No condition is required. Without checking any condition, by default, these statements will execute at least once. And then onwards, it will check the condition. After execution of the statement, first round, from the second round, the condition will be validated. So first it will directly enter into the block without checking condition and execute this statement, and then condition it will check. Again, it will go up and execute the statements and check the condition. This is exactly opposite of while loop. In the while loop, first we check the condition and then execute the statements. In the do while loop, first statements will be executed and then condition will be verified. Okay, so I will also show the differences. First, let us understand practically. So whatever we have done through while loop, same thing we can do by using do while loop also. And same thing we can do by using for loop also. Because the ultimate, the purpose of looping statement is same. You can use either while loop or do while loop or for loop, whichever loop you are using, the purpose is same. So whatever we can do by using while loop, same thing we can do by using do while, same thing we can do by using for loop also. So now let us see how can we use do while with some examples. And then I will also show you one more example while comparing while loop and do while loop. Okay, so let's take a new class and do while loop main method and say finish. Okay, same examples, whatever I have done in the while loop, same thing I'll try to repeat in the do, but very less number of times we prefer to this loop. And we'll see. Okay, first 1 to 10 numbers I want to print. 1 to 10 numbers using do while loop. Okay, so what is the syntax is? First we need to start with the do and bracket, and here after closing the bracket we have to use while, and here we need to put the condition. What's the condition is what? Before that we need to do initialization, right? Int I equal to 1 is the initialization, and do block is started. In the while loop, I less than or equal to 10 and then semicolon. So this is the syntax. Now inside this block, we have to write the statement. So I'll print the I value and then I'll increment the I value. It is same. It is exactly the same case, only the syntax is difference. Okay, now observe this. Java application. So 1 to 10 numbers is got printed. So how it is got executing? First I value 1 and directly it is entered into the block, do block, because we are not checking any condition at the first round. So it will directly enter into the block, printed I value 1, I plus plus is become 2. So here it is printed I value 1 first. Then here I plus plus means I value becomes 2. And now here it will check the condition. So current value of I is what? 2. 2 less than or equal to 10 or not? True. If it is a true, then only it will go to do again and again execute the statement, and current value of I is 2. Now I becomes a 3 here. Now 3 less than or equal to 10. Again condition is true. Now again it will go up and execute the statement, print 3. Now I value becomes 4. Again condition is true. Again it will go up and print the statement. So it will go on like this till 10. And now I plus plus. I value becomes 11, for example. I value becomes 11. Now condition become false. 11 less than or equal to 10. Condition become false. Then it will stop repeating the loop. So this is how simply we can write do while loop. Do while loop. And whatever we do using while loop, same thing we can do by using do while loop also. So for example, if you want to decrease the value, suppose I want to print 1 to 10 numbers in descending order. Let's say I want to print 10, 9, 8 up to 1. And same thing we can do. Int starting point is what? 10. Starting point is 10. And do after closing the bracket while condition. What's the condition here? What's the condition? I want to print 10 to 1 in descending order. What could be the condition? What could be the condition? Please respond. So I 10 to 1. 10 to 1 I want to print. See, still some people have not understood. See, 10 to 1 numbers I want to print. Observe. So first number 10, 9, 8, 1 is the last, right? Starting point is what? 10. Every time I'll decrease by 1. So I minus minus. So whenever I value becomes 1, then I want to stop. That means what? Either I greater than or equal to 1. This is the condition, or I can say I greater than 0 also fine, because all these numbers are greater than 0 only, right? So as soon as I value becomes 0, then this condition becomes false, or this condition becomes false. So either way you can put 2 different conditions. One of the condition you can use. So I can say I greater than 0, or I can say I greater than or equal to 1. Semicolon is required. Okay, now what is the statement you have to keep inside this? System.out.println directly print I value. And after that, how much value we have to decrement? -1, I minus minus, I minus minus. So now this will print 10 to 1 in the descending order. Okay. So this is simple syntax of do while loop. In the do while loop, first statements will be executed at least once without checking any condition. And after execution of the statements, then the condition will be verified. Then condition will be verified. So that's a major difference between while and do while. In the while loop, first check the condition, then statements will be executed. But in the do while loop, first statements will be executed, then check the statement. Okay. Now let us compare while and do while. What's the difference in the output? Let's take another class. While versus do while. While versus do while loops. Same program, I will write in two different loops. Just observe the difference in output. Simple. Int I equal to 1. Okay, int I equal to 1. And I'm writing while loop directly. While I less than or equal to 5. 5 numbers I just want to print. 1 to 5 numbers. System.out.println I value I'm printing, and then I value I'm printing, then I'll increment I value by 1, I plus plus. Okay, this is the while loop. So when I execute this, it is printed 1 to 5 numbers. Okay, perfectly fine. This is a while loop. Now I'm writing the do while loop. Let's keep this comment first. Same program. I'll just try to write by using do while loop. Int I equal to 1 I'm taking. Do. Okay, so do while I less than or equal to 5, and then semicolon is required. And here system.out.println I value, and then every time I'm incrementing I value. So if I execute this code, this will also do the same thing, and you will get 1 to 5 numbers. So 1 to 5 numbers, you will get output. Okay. But where you can see the difference, just observe this. What I will do is, again, go back to the while loop. In the while loop, I'll put initial value I, I'll keep 10. Now tell me the output of the while loop. What's the output you will get? I say I value 10. I value 10. So the while loop will print any values for us. Will it print anything for us? Let's try to execute, and nothing. There is no output. Why? Because the condition false. At the first starting point itself is got failed. So I equal to 10, 10 less than or equal to 5, condition false. If the condition is false, these statements are not at all executed. So first it will check the condition, then statements are executed, right? Because when I say I equal to 10, the condition is false. So the statements are not executed. This is the behavior of while loop. Now let us repeat the same thing for do while loop. So here I'm making I value equal to 10. I value equal to 10. Now if I look at the output, it will print at least one round of execution will happen. So I just see 10 is got printed. Why? Because it is not checking the condition in the first round. It will not check whether I value is less than or equal to 5 or not. So these statements will execute at least once. And after that, condition will be verified. So first it is printed 10 here directly. Then it is incremented and becomes 11. And then here checking the condition. 11 less than or equal to 5. Condition is false. So rest of the rounds is not executed. It is exited from the do while loop. So that is a major difference between while loop and do while loop. In the while loop, if condition is not satisfied, the statements will never execute. But in the do while loop, even though the condition is not satisfied, the statements will be executed at least once. At least once the statements will be executed. Okay. So I understood the difference between while loop and do while loop execution wise. The while loop, condition will be verified and then statements will be executed. In the do while loop, first statements will be executed, then condition will be verified. That means the statements at least once they will execute in the do while loop. Okay, this is a major difference between while and a do while. Now, next we'll move on to the next type of loop called for loop. again, once you completed the for loop, then again we will compare all three loops. Okay. So this is the basic difference between while and do while. Now, the next loop is for loop. This is very, very important and very useful loop. 80 to 90% of the times we will prefer to use for loop. Okay, most of the times, up to 90% of the cases, we will try to use for loop instead of using do while and while loop. But what is an advantage of for loop? When you compare with other loops, what is the main benefit of for loop? So in the while loop and do while loop, at least we have to write 3 statements. For conditional, specify the initialization is one statement, specifying the condition is another statement, incrementation or decrementation is another statement. At least 3 statements we have to write in every loop, right? Initialize one statement, second statement, third statement. These 3 we have to write in 3 different lines. Even in the do while loop also, decrementation, condition, and before starting do while, we have to write the initialization. So for these 3 things, we have to at least write 3 different lines. But in the for loop, we can write all these things in one single line. In the for loop, we can specify initialization, condition, and incrementation in single line. That means it will reduce the code. It will reduce a lot of code. Suppose, simple reason I'll tell you. So let us say you have written 100 lines of code. 100 lines of code. In this, you have used while loop 5 times. 5 times you have written while loop in 5 different scenarios. So total how many statements? At least 3 things we have to write, right? Conditional, initialization, and incrementation. 3 into 5. At least 15 statements you have to write here. 15 statements totally you have written. But same 100 lines code, if I use for loop 5 times, because all condition, initialization, incrementation, we put only one single line. So how many statements we can write here? Only 5 statements. So a lot of code is reduced. So whenever we are using for loop, it will reduce the code. Number of lines, it will reduce. And it is also more simpler to use when you compare with the while loop and do while loop. And that is the reason we will try to prefer the for loop many times. Okay, now let us see the syntax of the for loop. How we can specify initialization, condition, and incrementation in single line. So the syntax is like this: for, open bracket, closing bracket. In this bracket, we will write the statements, whatever you want to repeat multiple times. But in this first part, there are 3 parts are there in the for loop. The first part is what? Initialization. Initialization, semicolon. Second part is what? Condition, semicolon. Third part is what? Incrementation or decrementation. So 3 parts we will include in the for loop itself by separating semicolon. So first part is called initialization, second part is called condition, third part is called incrementation or decrementation and statements. And one more difference you can notice here. In the while loop and do while loop, incrementation or decrementation is a part of the body, part of the block, right? But this time, incrementation, decrementation is not part of the body. It is a part of the definition. You can see here we have to mention. And in the previous loops, initialization should be done before starting the loop. Before starting the loop, we have to do initialization. But here, initialization is also part of the for loop. That is also part of the for loop. So we no need to write a separate statements for initialization, condition, and incrementation or decrementation. All 3 we can include in single statement together. This is a syntax. Okay. Now let's see how it is going to execute. How exactly for loop works. So let's try to understand the flow, and then we will see some examples. Okay, so this is a for loop: initialization, condition, incrementation. So the workflow is like this. First, it will start from the initialization. This is the first one. First step, initialization. Once the initialization is over, then it will check the condition. Second step. Then it will check the condition. If the condition is satisfied, if the condition is true, directly it will go and execute the statements. If the condition is true, go to the statements and execute. After statements are executed, then it will go to the third part, incrementation or decrementation. So first, second step, this is a third step, and this is a fourth step. After statements are executed, automatically it will go to the third section. Then incrementation or decrementation is happened. Once it is happened, then again check the condition, fifth step. And if the condition is true again, then statements will be executed. And again, it will go to incrementation or decrementation part. After that, again check the condition and statements will be executed. Again incrementation, condition, statements. Again incrementation, again condition, statements. That means what? Initialization will execute only once. First time, only once it will execute. Now, after that, condition, statements, and incrementation. Again, condition, statements, and incrementation. These three things will be repeated multiple times till this condition become false. So as soon as this condition become false, then for loop will be exited. Okay, this is a workflow of for loop. Initialization, first it will execute only once, then condition will be verified and statements will execute. If the condition is true, statements will execute. After execution of the statement, then again go to the incrementation. And then again check the condition. True. Again statements will be executed. Go to incrementation. Check the condition. Again true. Again statements will be executed. So incrementation, condition, statements. Again incrementation, condition, statements will be repeated multiple times till this condition becomes false. So that's how the for loop works. Okay. So only condition and incrementation will be repeated multiple times. Initialization will execute only once. Okay. So this is how exactly for loop works. Now I'll show you some examples of for loop. Let's go back to the Eclipse and create new class. And I can say for loop demo. Take this main method and say finish. Okay. So now let me show you some examples by using for loop. This is the most important loop. Many times we prefer to use. Okay. So first, let's try to print 1 to 10 numbers using for loop. 1 to 10 numbers using for loop. So we can directly write a looping statement because we don't need to write initialization condition separately. Directly you can write for loop. This is a syntax, and even for loop also don't have a semicolon here. You should not put semicolon for the for loop. If you put the semicolon, these statements will not be executed. Okay, so remember this. Only do while loop, while is having semicolon. In the while loop, don't have any semicolon for the while, and even for loop also, we don't have any semicolon for the for loop. Okay, now in the for loop, we have to specify three things. One is what? Initialization. How to write initialization? Int I equal to 1. This is the initialization, starting point, semicolon. Second part is what? Condition. I less than or equal to 10 is a condition. Semicolon. How many times we have to repeat? How much value we have to repeat every iteration? 1. I plus plus. That's it. Now come to the block and just write only print a statement. Just print I. That's it. Simple. Now when I execute this, it will print 1 to 10 numbers. So incrementation is not part of the body. In the previous loops, incrementation is a part of the body. Means after printing the I value, we have incremented the I value immediately. But here it will automatic process. As soon as the statement is got executed, next round I value will be incremented. So again, let me repeat the workflow. First thing, initialization will happen. And then condition is verified true. If it is true, statement will execute and then go to the iteration. And then again, check the condition, statement is executed, then go here. So these three things will be executed multiple times. Condition, statement, and iteration. So these three will execute multiple times. So when it will stop, as soon as this condition becomes false, then it will exit from the for loop. Then it will stop for loop. Okay. So let me try to execute again. So when I execute this, you will get a 1 to 10 numbers. So all three we can include within single line. So that's the main advantage of using for loop. Let me show you some more examples. So comment this. So let's say I want to print only even numbers between 1 to 10. 1 to 10 even numbers. 1 to 10 even numbers, only even numbers. Okay, now how to write a looping statement? You have to tell. Now tell me, what is the initial point? I want to print only even numbers. What is the starting even number? 2. So initialization is what? Int I equal to 2. Okay, fine. Now what's the next condition? What is the condition? What is the condition? So 10 times you have to repeat, right? So I less than or equal to 10. Now how much value you have to increment? How much value you have to increment? 2. So here you can write I equal to I plus 2, or you can directly write shorthand operator. I plus equal to 2 also you can write. So this time we are incrementing by 2 every time, and then directly print system.out.println I value. So this will print only even numbers between 1 to 10. Okay, just look at here. Only even numbers between 1 to 10. Okay. Now let's see another example. Suppose I want to print 1 to 10 numbers, which includes even and odd number. So just like this, in the while loop we have seen, right? So you can see like this. This is the one. So this is the example. So 1 to 10 numbers, between 1 to 10, I will print every number along with even or odd. Every number along with even or odd using for loop. Next example. So 1 to 10 numbers I want to print. 1 to 10 numbers, but every number should print like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 10, along with even or odd number. Okay, now how can I write a looping statement? I'm commenting this, don't confuse by saying this is example 1. Okay, and this is example 2. This is example 3. Okay, now you can just guide me how to write a for loop. And this time we have to put conditions also, conditional statements inside the for loop, right? So first let us start writing the for loop. Where is the starting point? Int I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 10, I plus plus. Okay. Now before printing the number, we have to check whether it is even number or odd number. If it is even number, we have to print number along with the even. If it is odd number, we have to print the number along with the odd. So we need to put one if condition. If I percentile 2 equal to 0, what does it mean? It's an even number. So here we will print number I value along with this some text. Let's say even. Else, what does it mean? If this condition is not matched, that number is what? Odd number. So here you can say system.out.println print I along with odd. That's it. So execute now. So you can just see it will print even or odd numbers between 1 to 10. 1 is odd number, 2 is even number, like this, up to 10 it has got printed. So we can also use conditional statements inside the loop. Okay. Now I want to decrease the values. I want to print 10 to 1. 1 to 10 in descending order. Another example. Example 4. 10 to 1 and descending order. Okay, 10 to 1 in the descending order. So now how to write a looping statement? For, you can directly write for loop. For starting point. What is the starting point? Int I equal to 10 is the starting point. Now what's the condition? I greater than 0 or I greater than or equal to 1. Anything is fine. I minus minus. We need to decrease the value. So directly you can print system.out.println print I value directly. So now we got a numbers in descending order. Okay. So this is very simple one. When you compare with the while and do while loop, for loop is more simpler than while loop and do while loop. Okay. So with this understanding, we can practice so many examples. There are so many situations. We will try to use these looping statements. So many problems we can solve by using these looping statements, either while loop or do while loop or for loop, whatever it is. Okay. So now we have discussed about 3 different looping statements: while loop, do while loop, and for loop. So now we need to understand where exactly we have to use while loop, where we have to prefer to use do while, and where we have to prefer for loop. Okay, so it depends upon certain conditions. So which loop we have to prefer? Which loop we have to prefer? So in many interviews, people may ask. So there are multiple conditions are there. Okay, so the first thing, which loop we have to prefer? So first thing, if you want to use while loop, if you know the number of iterations in advance, the for loop is often the most suitable. So suppose if you know how many number of times we have to repeat the loop before itself, sometimes you don't know how many times you have to repeat. Okay, if you know already how many times you have to repeat the loop, then obviously we can directly go with the for loop without second question. Directly can go with the for loop. If you know how many times you want to repeat the loop, if you know that, you can directly go to the for loop itself. Okay, the second thing, suppose if you want to execute the loop at least once without checking any condition. Okay, if you want to execute the statement at least once without checking any condition, then you can go with the do while loop. Because we don't have any other way. Even for loop and while loop also, first check the condition, then statements will be executed. But if there are any scenario like if you want to execute the statements without checking any conditions at least once, then directly go with the do while loop. Okay. And sometimes, suppose if you don't know how many times you have to repeat the loop, you don't know the condition, you don't know how many times you have to repeat the loop. But based upon certain condition internally, you have to exit from the loop. If you don't know how many times you have to repeat, then you can go with the while loop. But you may get one question here. If you don't know how many times we have to repeat the loop, if we don't know the condition, how can we use while loop? Right? If I don't know how many times we have to repeat, how can we use while loop? I will show you a simple example. And in those cases, we have to use while loop. So if you know number of iterations, go with the for loop. And if you want to execute statement at least once without checking any condition, go with the do while loop. And if you don't know the condition, then go with the while loop. Okay, but without condition, how can we write a while loop? I'll show a simple example. Look at here. So I'm just creating a simple example. So if you don't know the condition, for example, then how can we use while loop? While loop without condition. While loop without condition. Only while loop it is possible. In the rest of the loops, we have to specify the condition. Okay. So in the while loop without having condition, how it is possible? Just observe here. I'm writing one while loop, and here I'm keeping true. True means what? Every time the condition is true, right? So here I can say, okay, let me print CISO. I'm just printing something called hello message. I'm printing. Okay, fine. And here, what I said, okay. So let me take one value, int I equal to, let us say 100. Let's take I equal to, let's say 1, starting from 1. Int I equal to 1. Okay. Now, normally, if you want to print this hello message 10 times, what is the condition you will put? I less than or equal to 10. So this is a condition you will put. So when I execute this, it will directly print 1 to 10 numbers. So see, we are not put incrementation or decrementation. So infinite loop. So we need to increment I value by 1. So if I execute this, it will print hello message 10 times. Perfectly fine. Suppose here I don't put any condition. Okay, let's keep true. That means what? Every time the condition is satisfied. Every time the condition is satisfied, right? If I execute this, what will happen? When I say true, here I++, I'm not incrementing also. So then what happens? What happens? It will go to infinite loop or not? It will go to infinite loop. Keep on printing hello messages. So why it is going to infinite loop? Because we are always making condition true. We are always making condition true. That's the reason this statement is got executing. Even if you put I++ also here, still it will go to infinite for loop. Still it will go to infinite for loop. Why is it so? Because even though we are incrementing I value here, we are not checking the condition based on the I value. We are not keeping the condition here based on the I value. right? So every time this condition is true. So still the statements are executing in infinite times. But now my scenario is based on certain condition, I want to break the loop. Based on certain condition, I want to break the loop. Okay, I want to break the loop. Then how can we do that? See, as soon as you said I++, here I will put one condition. If I value equal to let's say 10, as soon as I value becomes a 10, then what I will say here, I will use something called break statement. Break. Then what happens? What happens here? So first condition is true. Hello is got printed. I value keeps increment. Before putting this if condition, what happens? It will go to infinite for loop. So the same message is got printed n number of times. Even though this I value is incrementing, it is not considering because the condition is always true. Condition is always true. We are not making this condition false at all. So after that, what I have done, suppose if the I value is equal to 10, whenever I value becomes a 10, then I break the loop. So what is a breaking is a jumping statement actually. So that will come out from the while loop. So if we execute this code, observe this. See, only 10 times it is got printed this time. You observe only 10 times it is got printed. So what exactly happening here is, even though we are not making this condition false, actually when this while loop should be exited, when the while loop will be exited, if this condition is false, then only the while loop is got exited, right? If the condition never become false, means it will go to infinite loop. But what I have done here is, I'm not making this condition false, but still I'm exiting from the while loop. Without making this condition false, still I'm coming out from the while loop. How I'm coming out from the while loop? Because of this condition. But here I don't know how many times I want to repeat. I don't know how many times I've repeated. So I don't put any condition here. But still, based on certain condition, I can exit the loop. Based on certain condition, I can exit the loop without making this condition false. That means what? Even though we don't know how many number of times you want to iterate, still you can use while loop. But other loops, it is not possible. Only in the while loop, it is possible. Okay. So if you know number of iterations exactly, directly go with the for loop. There is no secondary question. And if you want to execute the statement without checking any condition, at least once, go with the do while loop. And if you don't know how many number of times you want to repeat the loop, then go with the while loop. And simple generic example, I'll tell you guys, you can easily understand them. Take two different type of vehicles. I'm taking bike, bus, and a flight. 2-3 different type of vehicle. Okay. So if you want to travel by bike, what are the things you required? If you want to travel by bike, you need to know where exactly you are starting, source location. You have to know where you are going to travel, destination point you have to know. And also you need to know how much of fuel you have in your bike. So you have to know source. Whenever you are traveling through bike, you will know all these things, right? You have to plan accordingly. So you know where you are starting. You know where exactly you want to go and how much fuel is required to reach the destination. So all three things you will check, right? So if you know these three things, means what? Starting point, initialization, incrementation means destination point, and condition. All three, if you know, directly you can go with the for loop. This is a for loop example actually. If you know all these things exactly, you can go with the for loop. Now, suppose if you want to travel by bus, what is the criteria? You no need to buy any ticket for that, right? So directly you can get into the bus and then you can buy the ticket. You can directly get into the bus and then you can buy the ticket. That means what? Do while. So do while loop, you can directly execute. Once the statement is got executed, then condition will be verified. So same thing will happen here. If you want to travel by bus, you can directly get into the bus. After that, you can buy the ticket. Means what? Without checking any condition, at least you are executing statement once in the do while loop. You can just relate the scenario. That's the reason I'm just giving this example. Okay. So if you want to travel by bus, you don't need to buy the ticket. That means you don't need to satisfy the condition first. You can get into the bus and then buy the ticket. Buying the ticket is what? Satisfying the condition. Same in the do while loop also, we do the same thing. First, we'll execute the statements and then checking for the condition. Now, if you want to travel by flight, if you want to travel by the flight, you have to satisfy the condition first. You have to satisfy the condition, means you have to buy the ticket first and then you can get into the flight, right? That means what? While loop is preferred. While is nothing but first condition will be satisfied, then statements will be executed. Same thing, if you want to get into the flight, first you need to get the ticket and then you can get into the flight. Just relate that example, just you will understand based on this example. I'm just giving some example like this. Okay, so if you know source, destination, fuel, everything clear, and then you prefer the for loop. That means what? You have to know initialization point, you have to know the condition, you have to know the incrementation part. If you know these three things, directly go with the for loop. There is no second question. Directly you can go with the for loop. Okay, and if you want to execute certain statement without checking any condition, then directly go with the do while loop. And if you want to satisfy the condition first and then execute the set of statement, then go with the while loop. And also sometimes if we don't know the condition, in those cases also we can go with the while loop. So with this example, I hope you get clarity on this three different looping statement. But 80 to 90% of the times for loop will be preferred. That's the first priority. Second one, while loop will be preferred, some cases. And do while loop is very, very rare case. And we never use do while most of the times. Okay. So these are the three different type of looping statements. So is this clear, everyone? While loop, do while, and for loop. I will give you more number of assignments today based on these looping statements. You have to practice them. Okay, now let us jump to the last one, jumping statements. We have jumping statement, break and continue. Very simple, very easy. We can use them along with the looping statements itself. So jumping statements. So we have only two statements, break and continue. So break we have already used in the switch case statement. That is the jumping statement actually. So today we will understand more about this, break and continue. So these are the two statements comes under jumping statements. Okay, so let me show you how to use them. And so most of the times we use these two commands along with the looping statements or conditional statements. Okay, break and continue most of the times. Not continue, break. Break is especially used for conditional statements as well as looping statements. But continue statement, most of the times we use only with the looping statements. Okay, remember that. So I will show you an example, simple example. Let's go and create a new class. First, let us start with the break statement. Take this main method and then finish. Break statement. Okay, now I will write some piece of code here. You guys can tell me what is an output of this. Okay. For I'm directly writing one for loop. Int I equal to 1 initialization, I less than or equal to 10 condition, I plus plus, incrementing I value by 1. Okay, now here if I print, okay, so here I'm keeping one conditional statement. If I value is equal to 5, if I value equal to 5, I'm using break command here. And if I value not equal to 5, then I'm trying to print the I value. Now tell me the output of this program. What is an output? Just guess it. So the for loop contains the if condition. So I'm trying to print 1 to 10 numbers, but inside this I put one condition, I equal to 5. So what is an output of this code? Okay, let's try to execute and see. Run as Java application. So we got 1 to 4. Even 5 is also not get printed. After 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all numbers are got skipped. They have not printed. Only 1 to 4 is got printed. See how it is going to work. Initialization point is what? 1. So what is our intention here? 1 to 10 numbers I want to print. 1 to 10 numbers because I put condition 10, right? So 1 to 10 numbers I want to print. That's my intention. But internally, what I'm doing, this condition is filtering basically. Whenever I value become 5, means what? 1 is got printed, I equal to 1, condition not satisfied, 1 is got printed, 2 got printed, 3 got printed, 4 is also printed. But as soon as I value become 5, what happens? The above condition is true. The for loop condition is true. 5 less than or equal to 10 is true. So it is entered into the block. But here what happens? 5 equal to 5 becomes true. That means if condition become true, satisfied. Then as soon as this if condition is satisfied, then what happens? The break command executed. What this break command will do? This will exit the looping statement. It will basically break the loop. Okay, break command will break the entire loop. So as soon as I value become 5, I'm breaking the loop. It will come out from the loop. If it is come out from the loop, these statements will never repeat again. As soon as you break the loop, the next statements, whatever we are having repeat for repetition, those statements will automatically skip. So basically it is jumping out from the block, or it is breaking the loop. That is the reason we call it as a jumping statement. We call it as a jumping statement. I'll repeat this. Guys, once you go to the next topic, don't repeat the previous one. If you want to repeat the previous one, just hold on for some time. I will clarify that, okay? So just focus on it, because if you're still thinking about the previous one, you cannot understand the current one. So currently I'm explaining something different, right? Break is a totally different concept. And you are asking about previous example. Wait for some time. I'll come to that part. Okay, so I'll repeat this once again. Just listen this. Initially, what is an I value? 1. It will enter it. Condition is also true. Now come inside. If condition not satisfied. So I is got executed. So here 1 is got printed. Then I plus plus. I value becomes 2. 2 less than or equal to 10. Condition is true. Inside the block. If condition false. So this statement is got executed. 2 is got executed. Next time I value 3. Again, if condition is false. So I value executed 3. Third round, I value 4. Again, if condition is false. So here print statement is got executed 4. Next time I value 5 here. And this condition is true. Even if condition is also true. Whenever this if condition becomes true, what happens? The break command is executed. That will exit from the for loop immediately. If the break is exited from the for loop, and the rest of the numbers will not be executed. Even though this condition is still there, but the break command is jump out from this for loop. It will not go to the further values. Because as soon as I value equal to 5, immediately we are coming out from the loop. If come out from the loop means what? Rest of the numbers will not be executed. Okay, so this is how it will execute, exactly works. The break command, basically it will jump out from the program. If you want to break the loop, even though we have multiple iterations here, see 1 to 10 times it repeats actually. But how many times it is repeating now? Only 4 times. How it is possible? Because based on the condition, we are breaking the loop. Based on the condition, we are breaking the loop. Okay. Understood, guys? So how it is exiting the for loop? As soon as this condition is satisfied, the break is got executed, and that exited the for loop, and rest of the values are not printed. Okay, so if you print the I in the same break, just below the break statement. Okay, now let us see this. What will happen? You guys can tell me the output for this. If I put this I value inside this break, after the break, then what happens? What happens? I just remove this. It is a giving syntax error. Means what? After breaking statement, we should not execute any other statement. Okay, because the break itself will exit from the loop, right? It will jump out from the loop. So this statement will not be valid statement. After the break, this is not a valid statement. Unreachable code. This is the error you will get. Unreachable code means what? As soon as we have exited the break statement, next statement will not be continued. So even though if you write another other statement, that is not considered. So Java will give you syntax error. So you have to make sure that after break, you should not put any statements. Okay. So when you execute this, it will execute only 1 to 4 numbers. Okay, just a second. Just a moment, guys. Let me remove the points. It is going to coverage mode. So guys, understood about the break command. So how we can exit the loop, even though the for loop condition is true. So this condition is true, I less than or equal to 5, it is true, but still the if condition is causing the break. So it is basically breaking the for loop. So continue is another statement which is exactly opposite of this. Okay, now let me just copy the same. The last example, continue statement. Continue. So same code, instead of a break, I will just say only continue. So now you tell me what is an output of this. Continue. Now what is an output of this? 1 to 10 numbers I want to print, but whenever I value equal to 5, I say continue. Whenever I value equal to 5, I say continue. Okay. Now observe this output. When I run this code, it is printed 1 to 10 numbers, but you can see 5 is got missed. 5 is got skipped actually. 5 is not got printed. The rest of the numbers, it is printed. So why 5 is got skipped here? So just observe. So whenever the first starting with 1, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, there is no problem. But as soon as I value become 5, so if condition true, if condition becomes true. So as soon as this if condition is true, then continue will directly go here. Okay, continue will directly go here. It will not print. See, as soon as I value become 5, continue will execute. Continue will directly jump to the incrementation part. So this statement is ignored. Especially whenever I value become 5, this statement will not execute. So 5 we will not get. After that, I value becomes 6, right? So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, this condition never match. So obviously it will print the rest of the number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Only in case of 5, it will continue this. Only in case of 5, the statement is not executed. And rest of the numbers, it will go and execute. Okay. Now, I want to skip 3, 5, and 9. Now tell me how to write the condition. I want to skip 3, 5, and 9. 3, 5, and 9. 3 numbers I want to skip. Simple, can change the condition. I equal to 3 or operator, or I equal to 5 or I equal to 9. So what happens whenever I value becomes 3, continue, go to the next number. Whenever I value equal to 5, skip it and go to the next number. Whenever I value equal to 9, continue and skip it. So except 3, 5, and 9, you will get all the numbers. 3, 5, 9 are got skipped. 3, 5, 9, all 3 numbers got skipped. That is called continue. So continue is also jumping statement because we are directly jump to the next number. By ignoring the current value, we are going to the next number, next level. So as soon as the I value becomes these 3, 5, or 9, jump to the next number. That is called continue. But the values will not print because the print statement is outside of this if condition. So values will not be printed. As soon as these values are satisfied, then it will go and continue to the next number. So that's how we can use continue. So break and continue. So these two statements, most of the times we use along with the looping and conditional statements together. Okay, simple examples. So in the coming sessions, we will see so many examples. Almost in every program, we will use looping statements, jumping statement, conditional statement. We'll see so many things. Okay. So this is all about control statements in Java. So what are all control statements in Java supported? Three types of control statements we discussed. One is, first category is conditional statements. Let me summarize. Conditional statements. So what are the conditional statements in Java supported? If condition, if else condition, nested if else condition, switch case statement. If condition, if condition, if else condition, nested if else condition, switch case statement. And second category, looping or iterative statements. Looping or iterative statements. While loop, do while loop, for loop. So there is another flavor of for loop is there, so that we can use with arrays concept. Tomorrow's session, the next session, I will explain about enhanced for loop. And third category, jumping statements. Jumping statements, break and continue. So these are called jumping statements. Okay, guys, understood? So yesterday I have given some assignments on conditional statements, right? So today I will give some more assignments. When you come to the assignment part, very, very important assignments. Most of the interviews, people will ask this type of questions. I will also give the solution here. You can just go through it, okay? Now the first assignment, reverse a number. The first I will also just give the clue on this. You guys can try to use. Reverse a number. If I give some number as an input, our program should reverse it and provide the output. For example, when I say 1, 2, 3, 4 is a number, the program should display 4, 3, 2, 1. Whatever number we have given to the program or whatever number we have declared, the program should reverse that number and provide that output. That is called reverse a number. Okay, here we have to use percentile operator, slash operator, equal to. So these are the operators which we have to use along with the looping statement. Along with the looping statement. So for every program, there is an internal logic is present. So we need to first understand the logic. If you know the logic, you can easily build the program. Even during the interview also, even if you're not able to write the code, at least you have to explain the logic. So I'll tell you a simple example. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 is there. And how we can reverse the number through programmatically, how we can write the logic. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 is my number. So what we need to do is we have to take, this is the actual number. Okay. So we need to take one variable, a temporary variable, let's say number, or you can say reverse number. Okay. This is the number. Actual number is this one and reverse number. So from the actual number, we need to first capture the last digit 4. Get this digit and add to the reverse number first. And then remove this number. And next capture the 3 and concatenate here. And then remove this number. Then the next number is 2. So get the 2 and add it here. And remove this 2. And the next one 1. Get this number here, add it here and remove the 2. So now number becomes 0. As soon as the number becomes 0, we have to stop getting the numbers. Now finally you will get the reverse number here. But here 2 things are there. We are doing 2 things continuously. What is this? We are getting the last digit every time. After getting the last digit, we have to remove this number. And rest of 1, 2, 3 will be there in the number. After getting 3, we have to remove the 3, then 1, 2 will be there. After getting 2, we have to remove the 2, then we have 1. After getting the 1, we have to remove 1 also, then number becomes 0. As a number becomes 0, we have to stop repeating the loop. So 2 things are happening here. Capturing the last number and removing the digit immediately. So to capture the last digit number, we use something called percentile operator. And to remove this last digit number, we use something called slash operator. By using the combination of these 2 operators, we can capture the last digit and remove the last digit. So we need to repeat like this till the number value becomes 0. So this is actual logic. So in detail, I have explained in this video. I have given the video link also. You can just go to the video. I have explained how to reverse a string in very simple manner. Or try yourself first. While we have to use a looping statement along with the operators. Okay, so just go to this video. You will understand how to reverse a number. Very, very popular program. Most of the Java interviews, people will ask this type of question, reverse a number. Now the next one is palindrome number. Whenever you provide a number as an input, after reversing this number, if you get the same number, that is called palindrome. For example, I say 1 to 1. After reversing, you will get only 1 to 1. So this is a palindrome number. So you need to find out the number is palindrome number or not through programmatically. This is again related to reverse number. If you know how to reverse a number, after reversing, compare original number with reverse number. If both are equal, then you can tell number is a palindrome. If both are not equal, number is not palindrome number. So this is actually enhancement code of the previous one. If you know, first we need to reverse a number. After reversing the number, then we have to compare reverse number with original number. If both are equal, we can decide which is a palindrome number or else no. So in this, you have to use conditional statements plus looping also, looping statements also you need to use. So I will provide the link later here. So you can just try, because you can easily do it. Because what is the difference between first one, second one? Here you need to additionally add one if condition, because you want to compare original number, reverse number. For that, you need to additionally add one if condition. Otherwise, rest of them exactly the same. Now the third program, count number of digits in a number. Count number of digits in a number. Suppose if we provide some number like this, and how many digits are there in this number? Total number of digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 digits are there. So the programmatically you need to tell how many digits are there. Total 6 digits are there. Similarly, if you provide 10 digits number, the program should say 10 digits. And again, this is also related to the first one. So we need to capture the last number every time and we need to count. So here you have to use again looping statements. And this is the video link I have given, how to count number of digits in a number. You can just go to this video. And these are all assignments, guys. You have to practice. You have to do your own first. And then to get understanding, go through the video. Next one, count number of even and odd digits in a number. So in the previous example, we have to find total number of digits. But in this example, we have to find total number of even digits, total number of odd digits. And if I look at this number, how many even numbers are there in this? 2 is one even number, 4 is even number, 6 is even number. So 3 even numbers are there. So 3 even numbers. And how many odd numbers we have here? 4 and 5. 2 odd numbers we have. So 2 odd numbers. So we have to get output like this. Print the number of even numbers, number of odd numbers. This is the video link. Go through it. Now the fifth one, find the sum of digits in a number. So this time we are not counting the numbers. We are finding the sum of digits. Means what? 1, 2, 3, 4 I have given. So it will find sum. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. Total is 10. Like this, you can give any number of digits. Even if you give 10 digits, it will find sum of all the digits. And finally, it will give you total of or sum of all the digits in a number. And this is a video link I have provided. So you can just go to the video, then you can understand. Okay, so these are the 5 assignments you have to do based upon today's concept and yesterday concepts. Conditional statements and looping statements. So by using these 2 types of statements, you can practice these examples. 5 different types of assignments I have given along with the solutions. So video links also I have given. So go through and finish this. Okay, so this is a for assignment. So you will get a lot of time tomorrow and day after tomorrow during the weekend. So before coming to the next class on Monday, so please finish all these things. Take your own time and spend good amount of time, because you will have a lot of time during the weekend. So spend amount of time and then finish all these things. Okay, so otherwise it will be very difficult to understand the coming sessions. So you have to practice this, you have to complete this before coming to the next session. So I will see all the solutions in your Google Drive. So I already told you how to upload all the solutions in your Google Drive. So once you have done the practice, upload everything in the Google Drive, and then I will check during the weekend, where is done and where is not done, I will recheck once. Okay. So before attending the next session, you have to practice all these things and get ready with the next concept. So that is our plan. Okay. So then I'll stop here for today's session and we'll continue in the next session.